My beloved child, your spirit didn't bring you here by accident. Something ancient has stirred, something has been rising in the shadows, and now heaven has ordered it to come into the light. Archangel Michael speaks, and this time it is not through thunder nor through fire. It is through the still whisper in your chest, that ache you thought had healed, that name you haven't spoken in years, but that still echoes through your bones when the nights grow quiet. Yes, that person, the one who broke you and left you wondering if love was ever even real. The one who called you too much while taking from you everything you had to give. The one who made choices in silence while your soul begged for truth. And now, as heaven watches, they are trying to return. But my child, this is not a story of reunion. It is a revelation. You see, what was done to you, it was not a mistake. It was a decision, a quiet agreement, a shared nod in the dark between more than one soul. And for years they have walked freely, believing you would never be told the full story. But I saw it all. I heard the late-night conversations they had behind your back. I watched the smirks they exchanged, thinking they'd gotten away with it. I witnessed the exact moment they decided that your pain was worth their comfort. And I, the Lord your God, did not forget. Neither did Michael. That's why he is speaking to you now, urgently, because what's been hidden is now about to break open. Not to destroy you, but to deliver you. There is a spiritual alarm ringing, child, and you, yes you, are the one heaven has chosen to receive the truth before it reaches the surface. Because the ones who betrayed you have begun to panic, not because they've had a change of heart, but because the truth they buried is rising like smoke from a fire they tried to hide under silk. They feel it now. The trembling, the weight, the fear of exposure, but that's not your burden to carry. Not anymore. What's about to unfold is for your clarity, not your confusion. And Michael says, stay close, don't move too quickly, and don't respond too fast. Because what's coming to you next isn't just words or tears, it's a carefully woven return. Still entangled in deception, you must listen with your soul, not just your heart. Now let me take you to where it began. Do you remember that night? That moment, everything shifted, but you couldn't explain why. The way they changed overnight. How their silence felt colder than words. How their smile no longer reached their eyes. It wasn't your imagination. That night, a conversation took place, not just between them and their own thoughts, but between them and someone else. A second voice, a voice of envy, a voice that had been watching your light grow and felt threatened. By your peace, that voice whispered, you don't need them. They're the problem. You could do better, and your betrayer listened. That was the moment they turned, not after months of distance, not after long confusion. No, it happened, in a flash, and heaven watched it unfold. Archangel Michael says, they made a choice in that moment, and it was not you. But here is the part you never knew. There was another person, a third party, someone you trusted, someone whose presence never raised suspicion. Someone who carried a gentle mask, but behind it planted doubt, stirred jealousy, and rejoiced. Silently in your heartbreak, and now as heaven prepares to unveil everything, the third soul is beginning to feel the weight of what they participated in. They cannot sleep. They avoid eye contact. They change the subject when your name is spoken, because guilt does not vanish in silence. It screams in the dark. My child, are you ready to know? Are you ready to see the moment for what it really was? You were never too intense. You were never too much. You were too real. And real scared them, because real could not be manipulated. Real held up a mirror. Real exposed their own falsehoods. And instead of facing truth, they chose shadows. Michael says, you must understand, beloved, this was not about your failure. It was about their fear. So now, in this very moment, as your eyes trace these words, heaven is preparing your heart to receive what others tried to erase from memory. There is a piece of the story you were never given. and in the next parts of this prophecy, it will unfold. A day not to wound you, but to free you. But before we go further, hear this. You are no longer the person they walked away from. You are not standing in the ruins. You are standing at the threshold of restoration. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt, stronger, purer, and wiser. And they are beginning to see that, yes, child, they've searched your name online. They've asked mutual friends how you're doing, but pretending it was just curiosity. They've hovered around old pictures, rereading old messages, but not because they're ready to confess the truth. No, because they are terrified the truth will find you before they get the chance to shape the story. But heaven says they don't get to shape this anymore. You do, and not through revenge, not through bitterness, but through holy discernment. You may feel them getting closer. You may even hear from them soon. But remember this word, test the spirit. Do not open the door just because they knock. Do not soften just because they cry. Michael says, the one who betrayed you is returning. But the truth is returning first. And that is what this prophecy is about. Your victory doesn't begin when they come back. It begins when you no longer need their return to feel whole. This is your season of truth, child. And I, your God, will not let you walk into another storm. Disguised as closure, stay with me, there is more. What they did was not the end, but what I'm about to reveal is your beginning. My child, the moment you've waited for has already begun. You can feel it, can't you? Not in the form of fireworks or flashing signs, but in the stillness between your thoughts, in the sudden memory that rises without warning, in the way your chest tightens when their name drifts through conversation. That isn't coincidence. It's alignment. Michael says, their soul is stirring, not from love, but from consequence. You see, what they did wasn't a single action. It was a pattern, a slow erosion of your trust. One choice, followed by another, until silence became their shield and you became the casualty of a game you never agreed to play. But my child, hear this deeply. You were not naive. You were not weak. You were willing to love fully. And that kind of purity terrifies those who have something to hide. Yes, even now. As they prepare their return, they are choosing carefully what to say, and more dangerously, what not to say. There is a detail, one they hope you never ask about. A conversation they had that night that rewrote the course of everything. A secret, whispered in a darkened room when they thought no one was listening. But heaven was. Michael says, that secret is the seed that birthed their betrayal, and now it is about to bloom. And I tell you this, not to ignite bitterness, but to awaken discernment, because you may soon receive a message, soft, sorrowful, trembling. It may say, I've changed. I miss you. I was scared. I didn't know how to explain. But behind those words, there will still be silence, strategic, curated silence, if you are not listening with the ears of your spirit. My child, this is the hour of holy clarity, and clarity does not come dressed in comfort. It comes with conviction. It comes when you choose truth over nostalgia, discernment over desire, wisdom over longing. You must ask yourself, why now? What awakened their conscience? What are they truly after? And what are they still not telling me? Michael says, your heart was never the problem. Their honesty was. The enemy wants you to believe that their return is proof of growth. But sometimes, a return is not repentance. It's panic, a scramble to regain control of a story they can no longer manipulate, a desperate attempt to rewrite the ending before heaven writes the truth in the sky. Beloved one, heaven has never stopped watching. That night you collapsed in tears, unsure what you'd done to deserve the silence. Heaven recorded every word left unsaid. That day you blamed yourself for being too much. Michael stood at your side, whispering, you are not the one who failed, but now the one who caused that pain is searching for a doorway back into your life. And you must decide, Will you open the door out of softness, or will you wait for heaven's instruction? Because there is something they still carry. A part of the story too shameful for them to say aloud. A detail they confessed to someone else. Not you, someone close to you both. Someone who believed they were protecting you by keeping it secret. But my child, that silence is not protection. It is a delayed heartbreak, and heaven will no longer allow you to live without the full truth. Michael says, you are strong enough to know now. The truth will not break you. It will free you. There is a reason this message found you today, because just beneath the surface of your calm, your spirit has been restless, not from trauma, but from knowing. You sensed there was something more. You felt it in the way they spoke, the way their stories never quite aligned, the way your instincts screamed even when their tone was soft. Yes, my child, that is the gift of spiritual sensitivity, and I am confirming now, you were never wrong. You were alert. They tried to label it overthinking. They called it paranoia. But what they really feared was that your discernment would see them before they were ready to be seen. And now they are preparing to knock, to reach out with trembling hands and hopeful eyes. But hope is not healing, and emotion is not evidence of transformation. Michael says, if they have truly changed, they will not hide a single thing from you. And if they do, you must not be the one to offer comfort for their concealed guilt. My child, this isn't about vengeance, it's about closure, divine, irreversible closure. The kind of closure that comes not from conversation, but from revelation. And so, when the moment comes, whether it be a message, a random sighting, a strange dream, or an unexpected name falling from someone's lips, you will know. Because peace will rise in your chest, the same way tension once did, and you will not feel pulled, but protected. Your strength, beloved, is not your ability to forgive quickly. It is your wisdom in discerning who is truly safe for your spirit. Michael says, let me guide you in this. Ask of me. I will answer. The truth that has been hidden will rise, child, not because you seek it, but because I am sending it. I am stirring the conscience of the one who stayed silent, the third witness. And when they speak, you will finally know what you always suspected, but could never prove. You will feel the air shift. You will feel the moment you've been waiting for, not as a reunion, but as a release. And you will never again blame yourself for someone else's decisions. You are not responsible for the parts of the story they twisted. You are responsible only for what you choose now, and heaven is saying, choose wisely, choose truth. Choose to wait, not for them, but for me. Your next chapter does not begin with their return. It begins with your refusal to settle for half-truths. Stay with me. Part 3 reveals what they said. The very night you were crying for answers, and why someone you never suspected was standing there too. Do you feel it, my child? The wind has shifted, and heaven is not done speaking. My beloved child, the moment has come. Heaven has waited for this hour, not to accuse, not to punish, but to finally show you what was hidden on the night your soul began to unravel. Yes, that night. The one where something in your spirit shattered, though no explanation was given, where silence spoke louder than their voice ever did. They told you it was nothing, that you were overthinking, that you read too much into things. But your spirit knew better, because your spirit was listening to me. Michael says they did not just walk away from love. They walked into a secret they thought would never be revealed. There was a moment, a meeting, a whisper that changed the trajectory of your story. You weren't present in that room, but your name was. It was spoken, not with reverence, but with judgment. Your soul, weighed by someone who never had the right to speak on your behalf, and they listened. They let that voice speak over the truth of what you had built. They let that voice override your loyalty, your compassion, your tears. Michael says, the betrayal wasn't spontaneous. It was orchestrated, and now as heaven brings that memory to light, there is someone else who remembers it clearly, someone whose hands were not innocent, someone who didn't just observe, but influenced. This is what you were never supposed to find out, that the one who broke your heart had a helper, a confidant, a false friend, one who planted poison under the disguise of protection. They said, "You deserve more. You're being controlled. They're holding you back. Don't. Let them tie you down." And in that moment of manipulation, a decision was made, a quiet nod between souls to step away from the light you carried and into the shadow of secrecy. And my child, they did not hesitate. They did not pause to pray. They did not ask for truth. They moved, quickly, selfishly. You felt it. A sudden shift, a chill in your chest. That was not your fear, that was your discernment awakening, and yet you were blamed. You were told you were too intense, too emotional, too spiritual. They gaslit your intuition because they couldn't silence their guilt. Michael says they hoped if you blamed yourself, you'd never look deeper. But heaven says, enough. You have waited long enough. You have questioned your worth long enough. You have wondered if maybe, just maybe, you could have done something different to stop what happened. But now the veil is being lifted, and I, the Lord your God, am showing you this because you are ready. What they thought they buried is resurfacing now, not through confrontation, but through divine exposure. That false friend. They're starting to panic. They've noticed that your light hasn't faded. They thought their influence would destroy you, but instead, it deepened. Your calling now, when your name is spoken, there is weight, there is honor, there is fire, because what was done to break you became the foundation of your awakening. And still, they're afraid, because the one who left you broken has begun to speak of you again, not publicly, but in whispers. To trusted friends, to family, to mirrors in the quiet of night. They are haunted, not just by regret, but by the growing awareness that what they chose to believe was a lie, my child. You may soon see them, their name may appear, a message may come, an accidental encounter, a dream too vivid to ignore. Do not dismiss it. Michael says, heaven sends confirmation in unusual ways, and when it comes, pause. Do not respond. From your emotions, do not chase clarity through their words. Ask me, because what they offer you may still be incomplete. They might cry, they might apologize, but Michael says, until they confess what happened that night, completely and without self-preservation, do not believe their tears over your own peace. There is one more thing, my child, a detail too sacred to withhold. That night, the one you sensed, the one they never mentioned. A third soul was present, someone whose presence you never questioned, someone who has walked beside you like nothing ever happened. They know the full truth, and they have chosen silence, not because they wished to hurt you, but because they didn't want to lose the favor of those who betrayed you. They feared that speaking the truth would make them the enemy. But I have been stirring them, and soon they will not be able to carry that weight any longer. Their conscience will break, and when they speak, you will know, you will feel it in your bones. You will remember the night you cried yourself to sleep without knowing why. And suddenly everything will make sense. This, my child, is not punishment. This is the release you prayed for. This is heaven's justice, not loud, not vengeful, but precise. And I, the Lord your God, have never let go of your hand. You may not have known the full story back then, but I did. And now you shall walk with the truth revealed, not to reopen the wound, but to finally close it fully. So when the call comes, when the message arrives, when the old name returns, ask yourself, do they speak from confession or from convenience? Do they seek to heal or to be comforted? Because this time you choose, and your spirit, guided by me, will no longer bow to guilt wrapped in emotion. Michael says, your forgiveness is powerful, but your wisdom is your protection. Stand firm, beloved. You are not bitter. You are awake. You are not afraid. You are aware. And what heaven is unfolding next will leave no room for confusion. This is only the middle of the message, and still there is more to uncover. The next part reveals the confession they gave to someone else, the words spoken about you behind closed doors, and why that person has been avoiding your eyes ever since. Stay with me. The light is almost at the door. My child, you have waited in patience. You have stood in silence, holding the weight of unanswered questions, and now, heaven says, it is time, not for vengeance, not for confrontation, but for clarity. Archangel Michael speaks again, and his voice trembles not with anger, but with urgency. There is something they confessed, beloved, but they did not confess it to you. Yes, a truth long buried, spoken not in repentance, but in weakness. They told someone else, someone you know, someone who looked you in the eyes and still chose to say nothing, not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of what it would do to you, fear of what it would mean for them. Fear that their silence was safer than truth. But heaven says there is no safety in secrets. And now the time for protection through omission is over. You are not the fragile soul they once imagined. You are fortified, not in bitterness, but in wisdom. You are ready to hear the words that were once withheld. Let me show you what they said. That person, the one who betrayed you, sat in a room with someone you both knew. And when asked what happened between you, they did not defend you. They did not honor the sacredness of what you shared. They minimized it. They twisted it. They blamed your heart for being too loud. They blamed your spirit for being too pure. They said you expected too much when all you gave was everything. And the one who listened, they nodded. They accepted the false version, and they chose to walk with the version of the story that did not include your suffering. Michael says, they watched your name be misused and said nothing. But I, the Lord your God, have not forgotten a single word. And now, even as your betrayer prepares to knock again, even as their voice softens and their tone shifts, you must know. They have not yet told you the whole truth. They have told others more than they have told you. But child, listen closely. That's about to change, because I am stirring the conscience of the one who remained silent. They've carried your story like a stone in their chest, and now that stone is too heavy to bear. They will begin to distance themselves. You'll notice their demeanor shift. They'll grow quiet when certain names are mentioned. They'll avoid your gaze when memories rise. That is not discomfort, that is conviction. Their soul knows what their lips refuse to speak, and soon they will break, not in shame, but in release, because your healing depends not only on your strength to forgive, but on your right to know what was kept from you. Michael says, truth is not always loud, but it is always holy. And now, beloved, when heaven is preparing to deliver it to you, piece by piece, whisper by whisper, memory by memory. And when it comes, you will feel a strange calm. Not like peace from a warm embrace, but the calm of confirmation. The kind that says, you were never crazy. You were never wrong. Yes, my child, you were right to sense the shift, right to feel your own spirit recoil from their silence. Right to question the way they suddenly disappeared and returned with explanations that never made sense, because the story you were given was curated, selected, polished. But now the raw version is surfacing, and I will not let you be blindsided again. There's something else you must know. A conversation took place, days, perhaps weeks after they left you. A moment when your name came up again, not from love, but from regret. They said, I didn't think they'd take it so hard. I thought they'd move on. But my child, you didn't just lose a person. You lost trust, you lost peace, you lost the version of yourself that believed love would protect you, and they dismissed that loss like it was a minor misunderstanding. Michael says, they broke something sacred and called it survival. But heaven calls it by its true name, betrayal, and I will not allow the ones who inflicted it to rewrite the narrative again. You are being led into a season where only truth can remain, even if it arrives from an unexpected source, even if it comes through someone you never imagined had been holding the missing piece. And when they speak, don't interrupt. Don't try to make them feel better. Let them finish. Let them tell you the things you were once shielded from, because this time the shield is no longer. Silence. It is me. I am your defense now, and I say this with love. Do not protect the people who once watched you fall and said nothing. You may forgive them. You may even still love them. But you must not let that love pull you back into the version of the story where you are the one left questioning your worth. Michael says, you are no longer the version of yourself that cried alone. You are the version that has seen the truth and chosen wholeness. So now, what will you do? When the message arrives, when the voice shakes with apology, when the missing friend finally looks at you and says, there's something I have to tell you. Will you pretend it doesn't matter? Will you downplay what you feel? Or will you finally breathe and allow heaven to finish the healing? Child, this moment isn't the climax of your pain. It's the exit, the door that leads to divine closure, where every whisper is revealed, every shadow exposed, every lie returned to sender. And you walk out, not with revenge, but with revelation. This is the justice of heaven, quiet, precise, undeniable, and it is here. My child, heaven is watching you closely now. You may not see it, but something has shifted. The very soul that once betrayed you is trembling, not because they are ready for truth, but because they can no longer control it. Michael says they are torn between revealing the full story and keeping the version that protects their image. Yes, even now, as they prepare to reach for you, as they whisper to themselves that they owe you an explanation, their heart remains divided. They have rehearsed the apology. They have wept in the silence of their own guilt. But they have not surrendered the pride that kept them hidden. They want healing, but not exposure. They want reconciliation, but not repentance. And child, you must understand, this is not the same as transformation. Michael says, true repentance is not afraid of what it reveals, but what they feel is not the holy grief of awakening. It is the panic of being found out. And still, they hesitate. They wonder how much you know. They wonder if the pieces are coming together in your heart. They wonder if the story they told others is already unraveling, and it is, because I, the Lord your God, I'm not waiting on them to confess. I am revealing everything, with or without their permission. Your healing will not be delayed because someone else is afraid of the light. Their soul wrestles in the night. They cannot sleep. They scroll through old memories. They stare at your name, and yet they do not press send. Because to speak to you means they would have to speak the truth. And that truth, my child, is heavier than they imagined. There is something they did, a final detail, a moment they swore would never reach your ears. They shared it with someone. They cried about it. They said, if this ever gets out, it's over. But heaven heard. Michael heard, and now you will hear. Because you are no longer the broken one, you are the protected one. Do not mistake their delay for sincerity. Do not interpret their distance as reverence. Michael says they are waiting, not for the right moment, but for the fear to fade. But it will not, because truth cannot be postponed forever. Child, you are now standing on the edge of the moment when everything hidden begins to rise, and with it comes a test. Not of your love, not of your loyalty, but of your discernment. Because when they do speak, when they finally come forward, it may be partial, it may be gentle, it may sound holy, but heaven says, test it. Does it bring clarity? Does it leave nothing hidden? Does it free both of you? Or does it leave you with more questions than before? Michael says, if there are still shadows, it is not yet truth. Do not be swayed by the tremble in their voice. Do not let tears replace accountability. You are not cruel for expecting the full truth. You are wise, because what they still conceal has the power to reopen wounds if it enters your life unfinished. My child, hear me clearly now. You do not need their honesty to confirm your value. You do not need their confession to validate your pain. You are not waiting for them to choose healing. You are walking in it already. But should they return, and they will, you must ask, why now? Not from suspicion, but from spiritual clarity. Because heaven knows the whole story. And if they speak without revealing what truly matters, it is not reconciliation, it is preservation. They want to be seen as brave, but not as broken. They want you to believe they've done the work, but the real work is surrendering the fear of what you might see in them if they told you everything. Michael says, your peace is not worth trading for another half-truth. And so, you must prepare. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with divine stillness, the kind of strength that listens carefully and chooses wisely, because their return may not be your rescue, it may be your final test. And heaven is guarding you through it. Your name has been spoken in secret rooms again. They have asked about you. They have tried to gauge whether your heart is still soft. They wonder if you'll receive them with open arms. They wonder if you still miss them enough to forget. But, child, this is not about forgetting. This is about finishing. Finishing the chapter with truth, with wisdom, with honor. Not their version, but heaven's. There is something else. Another voice, a second soul behind the scenes. The one who encouraged them, fueled their silence. And now fears your awakening. You will begin to sense it, a change in how they look at you, a nervous glance, a stuttered greeting, because they too know what is about to be revealed. Michael says, the ones who once whispered about you will now whisper in fear of you, not because you are vengeful, but because you carry a light that no lie can stand before. And this, child, is where your strength rises. Not in confrontation, not in proving your point, but in choosing who gets to speak into your life again. Yes, they may be sorry. Yes, they may want restoration, but your peace was purchased in the dark nights of weeping, the prayers no one heard, the moments you held on when everything was breaking. It is not cheap, and it cannot be given to those still holding pieces of the truth behind their back. Michael says, wait on my signal, not their emotion. I will guide you, I will show you, you will know. There will be a moment, a sentence, a slip, something they say that confirms what you've long felt. And when it comes, you will not tremble, you will breathe, you will smile, you will feel the veil lift, and for the first time, you will understand. It was never about getting them back, it was about getting yourself back. My child, the moment has arrived, not for their return, but for your release. Heaven has seen the tears you never explained, heard the prayers you whispered when no one else was listening, and now, the final truth must be spoken. Michael says, they are returning, yes, but not fully transformed, and you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are standing in the clarity I gave you. Clarity that came not from their apology, but from my presence during your darkest hour. The person who once betrayed you is restless, not because they've awakened, but because the truth they buried is surfacing. They want to return, but they're still torn between confession and control, between fear and freedom. And child, you're not called to fix what they still refuse to fully reveal. Michael says, forgiveness is holy, but trust must rest upon truth. And truth still hides behind their polished words. They may cry, they may speak of regret, but unless they release the entire weight of what they hid, they are not coming to heal. They are coming to soften consequences. My child, remember who carried You remember who restored your spirit. It was not their voice but mine. Now is not the time to reopen what I have closed. Now is the time to rise. You are not the broken one. You are the one I rebuilt. You are not the forgotten. You are the chosen. So, when they knock, listen, but ask me before you open. Do their words carry light, or are they still shaped by fear? Michael says, your peace is not a gift to give freely to those who broke it. I watched it all. I protected you when they plotted. I held you when you had no answers, and I now declare you are free. You are covered. You are rising. Let this be the final page of what tried to destroy you, and let your next chapter begin with the truth. You were never the problem. You were the evidence of what they could never hold. Now walk not back to them, but forward with me. The story ends here, and your glory begins now.